Hi, this is John Linneball from John Linneball Tutoring, and this is American Idiom. If you want blood, you've got it. If you want blood, you got it. These are going to be idioms and phrases involving the word blood. This is about idioms involving blood, as I've just said. Blood relatives are people in your family who are related to you by genetics, like your sister, brother, father, mother, or grandparents, not by marriage, which would be husband, wife, stepbrother, stepsister, or stepparents. That's, of course, not a comprehensive list. Neither one of those are comprehensive. There are other relatives who may be blood relatives or non-blood relatives, relatives by marriage, that I haven't listed here. See also consanguinity. That would be the degree to which you are related to someone. Your first cousin is within 1 degree of consanguinity, second cousin is 2, and so on and so on. So con means with, sangre means blood, so with blood. And to be someone's own flesh and blood, meaning is to be genetically related to a person, often the son or daughter of that person. So a sample sentence would be wary of people who won't help their own flesh and blood. And here's a telling blood idiom. Blood will tell. We can see this looks like a father and a son here. They kind of look like each other. So, blood will tell, meaning genetic or familial characteristics always reveal themselves in the offspring of the offspring's parents. So a sample sentence, you'll know who the father of her baby is, even if she won't tell you. And then, one night, Jake brought in a gleaming E string. He said came from Elmore James's guitar. He held it tight, and as it glowed in the bulb light, Jake sliced Elwood's middle finger and then his own. Now the solo boys with soul in their blood were brothers. Jake and Elwood Blues, the Blues Brothers. So becoming blood brothers, that's the official ritual, is you cut yourself and you mix the blood of two people who aren't related. And you can find that on the bluesbrothersofficialsite.com/history. So the definition of blood brothers is a blood brother is a man or boy who has given his loyalty to another despite not being biologically related. And you can find that at 34 useful blood idioms and phrases. And that's at englishbyday.com/blood-idioms. And this is just a graphic that I found for a musical called Blood Brothers. Bad blood. Bad blood. The meaning is a bad relationship between two people because of past troubles. That's also from the same site as before, the 34 useful blood idioms and phrases. And here's a film by Michael Yeba called Bad Blood. And you can see these are 3 menacing looking people and a literal smoking gun. So you know something bad happens in that short film, right? Probably because of bad blood between at least 2 of these 3 people. To be out for blood. That means to seek revenge. So here, there's some movie or book called Out for Blood. Ooh, and it looks like there's blue blood dripping from this Christian kind of metal thing. Anyway, a sample sentence using out for blood in the meaning of to seek revenge is, after 5 straight losses to the Mariners, the A's are out for blood in this game. Blood and guts, blood and gore, meaning violence and bloodshed, an idiom especially used in fiction. It could also describe a real-life massacre or battle scene. Here we see something from a pretty gruesome video game. Looks like a first-person shooter. I can see the rifle here, and here's the blood and guts all over the place. And this performance contains scenes of violence, blood, and gore. Now here's kind of our 8-bit representation of blood and gore. So that's very old school. Here's another first-person shooter where whatever has just been shot at looks like it's just been pulverized into blood and gore. And interesting fact is gore used to just mean excrement that was contained in the intestines, and then it just became the intestines and gross innards themselves. So, sample sentence, while the movie was full of blood and guts, it was also historically accurate. You also say blood and gore in that sentence, or blood and guts, doesn't really matter. Smell blood, meaning to sense an opponent's vulnerability or weaknesses. So, in a sample sentence, Anna could smell blood, so she kept up the pressure and went on to defeat Valerie. And I know it says, so she kept the pressure up and went on to defeat Valerie. Doesn't really matter. There's a picture of a shark here. Why? Because sharks can smell blood in the water, or at least that's the common wisdom about them. You don't want to bleed in the water near a shark because the shark will smell blood and then come and eat you because it'll think you're a wounded fish. Taste blood. That is the meaning to harm an opponent and thus want to continue to cause even more harm to them. So here we see somebody's tongue rubbing up against a blade, and they have fangs here. So maybe it's some supernatural vampire type creature or whatever. And the sample sentence: John could taste blood when he realized Richard's weaknesses. To scream bloody murder. The meaning is to scream or yell in an angry and loud manner. The origin is probably an ancient legal doctrine called the hue and cry. It's an ancient legal obligation to scream when one discovers a crime. That's why you might see in a very old movie people screaming, "Murder! Murder! Murder most foul!" They're literally screaming bloody murder because they don't want to be the ones accused of doing it, so they're going to darned well be the first person to scream out bloody murder. Oh my God, get the sheriff. Oh my God, murder, murder, bloody murder. Okay, so sample sentence. If you call Professor Simon Simple Simon, he will scream bloody murder because he's a professor. He doesn't like being called a simpleton. All right. Sanguine words. Sanguine can mean very calm. You can sanguinely tell somebody, oh, everything's going to be all right. It means you're very calm. Exsanguination literally means bleeding out. Death by exsanguination is bleeding to death. It's also the draining of blood from a patient, which would be medical. So you might have the exsanguination of an extremity, like an arm or a leg or something. Or an animal would be slaughter. Many kosher, halal, butchers, etc. do drain all the blood out because that's what they're supposed to do. And sanguinary means bloody, so a sanguinary battle would be a very bloody, loss-heavy battle where a lot of people got killed or wounded. Sangria. Sangria is a Spanish or Portuguese drink made from red wine and fruit. To, or you can't get blood from a stone/turnip. So you might say to get blood from a stone, to get blood from a turnip. You can't get blood from a stone, you can't get blood from a turnip. The meaning is when something is impossible or nearly impossible, or debts can't be collected from a person. So a sample sentence. Collecting from Brad is like trying to get blood from a stone or from a turnip. The guy either can't or won't pay his debts. Stones and turnips don't have blood, so it would be literally impossible to literally get blood from either of those things. Legal terms: if someone who owes you money is broke, you can't force that person to pay money he or she doesn't have or that is legally exempt. There are some things like a certain amount of your salary, a certain amount of household goods, etc. At least from what I understand, that someone's allowed to have even if they owe you money, even if they file for bankruptcy, etc., etc. And no, I am not your lawyer, and this is not legal advice, so if you're trying to collect money from someone who owes you money and you have a judgment against them, go hire a lawyer. If you have any other kind of legal problem, go hire a lawyer. Don't use my YouTube channel for legal advice. Okay, let's move on. In a person's blood. The meaning is something that someone is born with, such as a characteristic or personality trait, or something that's worked its way into that person's personality trait. So a sample sentence: Jack was born to play music. It was in his blood. So we can say, remember seeing on a television show, someone went down to New Orleans and said, "Nolans gets in your blood," which was funny because he was from New York City, so that was a really fake New Orleans accent he was talking in, and that I've imitated very poorly. Anyway, so that's, if it's in your blood, it means it's something you're born with, or it's something that's reached into you and become like it's something that was born into you. Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. This was perhaps the first true crime book. You can't really say true crime novel because it's not a novel if it's not fiction, I believe. If someone knows better than I do and wants to correct me, go ahead. Anyway, it was certainly the first true crime book, or the first one that people really noted as a true crime book, about some people who were killed in a home invasion in Kansas. So anyway, in cold blood, it means to do something ruthlessly and without feeling. A sample sentence: the home invasion burglars killed an entire family in cold blood, although the valuables they obtained were hardly worth the death sentences that they, in quotes, earned when caught. As I just said, Truman Capote's In Cold Blood was perhaps the first true crime book. And you should read that. It's pretty good. And if you get a chance, you can watch this movie here that I got the poster from. And you should see the movie Capote. They're quite good. Blood runs cold / turns to ice, freezes. Okay, if you're chilled by fright, terror, or horror. If ice water runs through a person's veins, the person is unbelievably calm. That person you might also describe as cold-blooded, as in the previous slide, where if you're very calm, especially if you're doing something evil, like you're a cold-blooded killer. And you could also be literally cold-blooded if you are a lizard or some other kind of reptile or some other kind of animal that is not a mammal or another kind of animal that maintains its own body temperature. So if you're a lizard, you are literally cold-blooded, no matter how kind and friendly you are. To curdle someone's blood, it means to scare someone. Well, when milk curdles, it kind of becomes solid and chunky and icky. Well, that's what scaring someone is supposed to do. I don't think it literally does that. So, the American Horror Stories TV series Curdled My Blood. See also a blood-curdling scream. Ah! Okay, it'd have to be a lot scarier than that to curdle your blood, but you know what I mean. So, here's this American Horror Story freak show poster where, wow, this woman's mouth is opening very, very wide as she's screaming here. Oh my. Bloody. Well, bloody, of course, it's a mild curse word in British English. Ah, stop that, you bloody idiot! Where's my bloody food? I've been waiting here all day. You know, something like that. And my apologies for a really bad British accent, but anyway. And, of course, it can mean when something is literally bloody, it's contaminated with blood. You got blood on something. You know, that bloody bandage is gross. Throw it away and replace it with a new one. Also, involving much injury or killing. This path to victory is too bloody. Too many people will die. Well, so you're using blood as it is commonly used as a metaphor or a synecdoche, whatever. When a part of something symbolizes the whole, that basically you're just saying, okay, it's too bloody when you mean too many people will die. So blood symbolizes the loss of blood. Okay, and let's move on to the next thing. Bloodshot eyes. Bloodshot eyes are when blood vessels dilate in the whites of the eyes, so you end up with things like this. Wow, this is really awful. And you see here someone's painted on one of those Mugwai dolls, I think, from, Gremlins. They painted bloodshot eyes on here. So anyway, it's redness in the eyes when the blood vessels therein become swollen or irritated. Could be from smoke, could be from a lot of different things. Could be from drinking alcohol, could be from drug use, could be for, lots of reasons you might have bloodshot eyes, but this is what that looks like. Someone's blood is up. The meaning is when someone's in a fighting mood. So sample sentence, watch out for Donnie, his blood is up. To go for the jugular. This means to aggressively attack someone, to move in for the kill. A sample sentence, I told him to go for the jugular, but I didn't mean it. The jugular vein is a blood vessel in the neck that carries blood from the brain back to the heart and lungs. It's commonly said that if someone's jugular is cut, that person will die before he or she hits the ground. It's probably not completely true, but it's a call for immediate medical attention. I remember reading about a hockey goalie who, was in the NHL, got literally run over by a skater who obviously didn't mean to do it, skated over the guy's neck, cut either his jugular vein or carotid artery, and just luckily they were actually able to get a doctor on the ice and put whatever paramedics and, basically do whatever they had to do to keep him alive. I do believe the goalie survived, but that's incredibly lucky. And you can see here's the right external jugular vein. That's probably what they mean by the jugular if you're going for the jugular. So this left internal one looks like it would be a bit harder to hit, but this external one on the right, that looks like that would be a good target if someone were trying to kill you. To make a person's blood boil. Well, here we see, here's blood, and look, boiling, ha ha ha, get it? Anyway, figuratively it means to infuriate someone. It's unlikely that anyone has ever made someone's blood literally boil. In outer space, you could if there, since there's a vacuum and there's no pressure, but in, a normal environment on the Earth, it's just going to mean to infuriate someone. Ugh! Walter makes my blood boil! Okay. So, if something is too rich for a person's blood, it can literally mean it's too sweet or it's too fatty. It's something that's too high in calories, and we can see that can lead to diabetes. You see it in these sugar cubes. The figurative meaning, which is more common, is when something is too expensive for someone's budget. So the sample sentence might be, this poker game's buy-in is too rich for my blood. I can't afford to lose $100. And of course, as I said, the literal meaning is just food that might be too rich, might be too sweet, might be something you can't really afford to eat if you want to keep yourself healthy. And also, you can see that's above my pay grade. You're asking me to do something that's above my pay grade. Well, that means you're asking me to do something that I don't know how to do or that I'm not authorized to do. You usually hear that in military and government circles, but anybody might use that. Don't know. That's above my pay grade. You want your truck fixed? Ask somebody who's a truck mechanic. All right. Blood, sweat, and tears. That means extremely hard work. So the sample sentence, Jim put his blood, sweat, and tears into his new business. Then to sweat blood, well, is to be very anxious about something. So there's a story about Jesus in the Bible. I believe it was the night before he was crucified. He prayed so hard and worried so much that he literally sweat blood. And so it says, Jesus was said to have sweated blood before his crucifixion. Hematidrosis, or hematohydrosis, is a very rare medical condition that causes you literally to ooze or sweat blood from your skin when you're not cut or injured. So here's our sample sentence. I'm sweating blood about the sweet. I'll try that again. I'm sweating blood about the speech I have to give. And here's the link to webmd.com, hematohydrosis. So you'll know I didn't just make that up. Blood on someone's hands. The person or entity is responsible for someone's death. The chemical company that allowed toxic chemicals to be released, killing many people, had blood on its hands. The plant had not been inspected for safety and the operators were poorly trained. Blood money. Money paid in an attempt to compensate for loss of life, etc. The money paid by the nation could be characterized as blood money meant to atone for its opponent's war losses. So those are a couple things involving blood. If you have blood on your hands, you might pay blood money to the survivors of whoever you killed or maimed horribly or whatever, where you've got literally or figuratively got blood on your hands. And you might say, okay, here's some money to compensate for it. So that would be blood money. All right. Example of blood on the hands. This is Doonesbury from the September 27th Sunday San Francisco Chronicle comics. And so we have Michael Doonesbury saying, okay, so here's the thing I've been wrestling with. How do we grasp the vast scope of what's happening to our nation? How do we even imagine 200,000 deaths? Well, maybe this can help. Each dot in the following panels represents a single lost life. You may have to squint. Okay, so all of these dots in these three panels literally represent one person who has died from COVID-19. And then the last panel is Donald Trump, or look away and then they disappear. Yes, sir, like a miracle. And now we'll zoom in on the last panel. Notice that Donald Trump has blood on his hands here. So Gary Trudeau, the artist, is obviously saying that Donald Trump is responsible for 200,000 deaths from the COVID crisis. That's his point. Anyway, so if you don't agree with that or want to complain about it, you can put a comment on my page, but you probably would be better off commenting to Doonesbury.com. I do happen to agree with this, but you're entitled to your opinion as well. I guess you want to complain to me, great. Blood and iron, military power as opposed to diplomacy, Wikipedia. So here's where I got this information from. Here's a quote. Not through speeches and majority decisions will the great questions of the day be decided. That was the great mistake of 1848 and 1849, but by iron and blood, or Eisen und Blut. This phrase, relying on a patriotic poem written by Max von Scheckendorf during the Napoleonic Wars, was popularized as the more euphonious, that means it sounds better, good, phonious, relating to sound, Blut und Eisen, blood and iron. And to you German speakers out there, I'm sure I have butchered that phrase. I'm sorry about that. Blue blood. All right. Blue blood means royalty. And I had wondered what was the origin of the phrase blue blood. It's literally a translation of the Spanish sangre azul. This was the designation attributed to some of the oldest and proudest families of Castile who claimed to have never intermarried with Moors, Jews, or other races. So they were like, look how light our skin is, and look how blue our veins are. The expression probably originated in the blueness of the veins of people of fair complexion. I have very light skin. You can see my veins pretty easily, as opposed to those of dark skin, because that's going to cover up the blue veins quite a bit. It's also obviously used as a joke in the name of this TV cop show. Presumably these cops are all family, so they wear blue uniforms and their blood. Get it? Ha ha ha, blue blood. Okay. Blood in War and Peace. To draw blood is to create a wound that bleeds, as in bladed weapon combat or when taking a medical blood sample. So a sample sentence, clergy members were forbidden to draw blood, so they used non-bladed weapons such as maces or clubs in order to comply with that requirement technically, but still serve in battle. Oh, I can't use a sword in battle because that would draw blood, and I'm a cleric, I'm a bishop for the sake of the Lord, but hey, I can use this humongous mace and bash your skull in, and, apparently that's okay as long as it doesn't crack your skull or crack your skin and draw blood. Doesn't make sense to me, but oh well. Blood in War and Peace, some more. First blood, to score the first points in a game, to cause the first casualties in a battle. If you saw the first Rambo movie, it was called First Blood, and one of his lines was, "They drew first blood," Hey, I didn't want trouble. All I wanted was to get something to eat. Yeah, I've done better Rambo impressions than that, but oh well. You'll have to suffer with that one, I'm sorry. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. It's been attributed to many, including famed U.S. General George S. Patton Jr. I had a professor who said it was an old samurai saying. I don't know, but it's traceable to George S. Patton Jr., So what it means, of course, is the more you practice before a conflict, the less likely you are to lose badly or lose at all. Think of it in terms of SAT, ACT, whatever test you're taking prep. The more you look at things like this, the more you do practice problems, the less likely you are to really lose big when you actually take the real test. And here is the URL for that. Blood and Thunder. All right, these are stories, movies, etc. that rely on action and or violence rather than character development to advance the plot. You can think any action movie. Here, this looks like a takeoff on the Magnificent Seven, which of course was an adaptation of the Seven Samurai. So you can see, there's lots of blood and thunder here. You can cowboys and guys pulling for his gun and thunder. Then the Blood Thunder, the Sound of Albert's Hall. This is appropriately AC/DC. So there you go. If you want blood, you've got it. So anyway, think any action movie. There's a lot of blood and thunder. I have never bought into the idea that blood is thicker than water. Love and respect are meant to be earned from our children, our spouses, our families, and our friends. Raquel Cepeda. So what Raquel is trying to say here is that relationships actually can be more important than family, even though the saying blood is thicker than water means relationships with family are more important than relationships with non-family, such as friends, etc. And thus, family is to be treated better and more trusted than non-family. But Raquel Cepeda brings up the opposite point. Well, respect is something that you earn, and respect is something you could lose, so you could actually have non-family members that you trust and respect more than members of your family. I hope it's not true, but there you have it. New blood. New blood is a phrase that refers to new members of people brought into a group or company. So, sample sentence, we have some new blood in the Whitling Club. Some people in their 20s have joined. So we have some new blood picture here, and something about Australia's new government called New Blood, a fresh injection. So young blood is young people, often referred to young new hires at a company or other organization. The sample sentence is, the company needed some young blood, so it started recruiting at local colleges. And here's Norah Jones's Young Blood album, and here's something else called Young Blood. So, man, they look pretty young, so they must be young blood. Ha 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 ha. Did you find this video useful? If you did, please like it and subscribe to this channel. Neither action costs you anything. You'll be alerted about my new videos. Why do I care? It's simple. YouTube doesn't let me share any ad revenue unless I have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours. That's 240,000 minutes of view time in a year. While many people are watching these, I don't have 4,000 hours of watch time. And I still don't have anywhere near 1,000 subscribers, although I'm getting closer every day. So, for the same reasons, you're not only welcome, but encouraged to share links to this video, put it in playlists, etc. I'm always happy to read and respond to constructive criticism or suggestions for new videos. I'd appreciate your input. I reserve the right to delete comments from and block those who specialize in destructive criticism, trolls, or things that are off topic, such as spammers and disturbed people. So, thanks for watching, and here's some more contact information coming up. Contact me, Facebook, Instagram, email, phone. Facebook, It's www.facebook.com/Linnaball Tutoring. Instagram, it's instagram.com/john.linnaball.tutoring. Phone is 415-623-4251. And the email is john@johnlinnaball.com. Website is www.johnlinnaball.com or www.johnlinnaballtutoring.com. They both go to the same website. Testpreparation.locals.com. I have a locals page. Please be a subscriber. It will be worth your while once I start putting up some exclusive content. And if you want to use good old-fashioned snail mail, you can mail me at John Linnaball Tutoring, 1859 Powell Street, number 109, San Francisco, California, 94133. All right, you have a nice day now.